Namaskar, hello to everybody, and welcome to the fourth evening of this series of 5 conversations called Dance Across Genres. It is been organized by Art Vision in collaboration with the India Habitat Center in celebration of the Silver Jubilee of Art Vision. Art Vision is 25 years old. It was founded in 1996 by a group of artists which belongs to different disciplines like cinema, theater, literature, dance, and just to have a common ground to share experience and creative ideas. So continuing on these premises, the celebration of the 25 years is being organized with the intent to have these common conversations between different disciplines. So tonight is dance and films. In the choreographies created for the stage, the logic of continuity, which links one scene to the other, is dictated by the development of the subject matter. The choreographer keeps a steady point of view, which is determinant in establishing what is symmetrical and what is not, which direction a certain movement should cover, what side is the front and what side is the back, and so on. What happens when different points of view intervene? New angles step in. The eye of the camera determines what has to be seen and what not, and introduces a different logic and order of continuity. So these are some of the thoughts which it's coming to the mind, are coming to the mind when we think about the dance for the stage and dance for the camera. And we have with us an expert in this field, and we warmly welcome Dr. Deirdre Towers. She is a senior contributor to the Dance Enthusiast, has written for over 13 publications, including Dance Magazine, where she was a staff writer for 5 years. She produced the internationally touring Dance on Camera Festival, co-sponsored by the Film Society of the Lincoln Center in New York and by the Dance Film Association. And she was there from 1994 to 2012. She is now the producer, outreach director of the award-winning documentary La Chana and of Bell 8 dance film shorts and installation. So before giving the word to her, I would like to ask everybody to, at the end of her talk, we will open up for question answer. And you are welcome to put your question in the chat box. Or if you want to come on screen, please raise your hand and we will unmute your mic. Now everybody should be with the mic mute. Thank you so much, and over to you, Deirdre.
Thank you, Ileana. It's a pleasure to at least to imagine myself in India on this night of the full moon. Naturally, since I love film and video, I've taken the opportunity to put together many of my favorite films that span 100 years. And I'm trying to give a sense of the variety, the richness of possibilities, and I group them in different ways. So I'm now going to switch to my film, and I'll be back in essentially 25 minutes to continue our conversation. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, thanks for coming today. It's my great pleasure to talk about dance film. I took some liberties with the wonderful film you just saw by DeKale. He's the son of a dancer and a graphic artist who now films for Beyonce in California. I morphed his butterfly into Loy Fuller, who many of us consider the mother of art and technology, as seen here in the film by the Lumiere brothers, shot in Paris in 1890s. So my question for you is whether we could be entering a new golden age of dance films. Dance film is a binary form. It's a merging, I say, of fact and fiction. What are the facts? The body moving in a particular space, time, and energy. And the fiction? The shaping of that content to serve an idea or an ideal. After all, it's past and present, really. The collaborators who map the border between opposites, what could or could not be done on stage, often determines the life of a dance film. Space, time, and energy, those three constants in any style of dance, trigger more references than 100 years ago, right? Especially energy. We are more aware of it, chasing its ebb and flow, noting how we feel someone's energy, absorb it without knowing, and then rebuff it if it's too dark. Also time, the time it takes to register emotions, register an idea, to transform them. What will the next chapter of dance film be? Will we ever be as romantic as they were 100 years ago? Probably not. From the romantic to the anti-romantic. Imagine the amount of work it took to organize the Australian dance company to become this dancescape.
भैरवरुद्राय महारुद्राय कालरुद्राय कल्पान्तरुद्राय वीररुद्राय रुद्ररुद्राय घोररुद्राय अघोररुद्राय मार्ताण्डरुद्राय अण्डरुद्राय ब्रह्माण्डरुद्राय चण्डरुद्राय प्रचण्डरुद्राय खण्डरुद्राय सूररुद्राय वीररुद्राय भवरुद्राय भीमरुद्राय अतलरुद्राय वितलरुद्राय सुतलरुद्राय महातलरुद्राय रसातलरुद्राय थलातलरुद्राय पातालरुद्राय नमो नमः.
Do you understand how rebellious that is to just find the perfect frame and hold the camera still so that your eyes go where? To one dancing finger.
यं 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 यक्षरूपं दश दिशि विदितं भूमिकम्पायमानम् सं सं संहारमूर्तिं शिरमुकुटजटाशेखरं चन्द्रबिम्बम् दं 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 दीर्घकायं विकृतनखमुखं जोर्ध्वरोमं कराळम्.
The title says it all, except I'm only showing you one variation. So you have to imagine how many ways that the cameraman found to dance with the dancer. But this is the beginning of a series of relationships I'm showing. But I ask you, which one appeals to you most? Which is the relationship that's most prevalent in your mind as the potential or the filmmaker in the midst of their project? Jump cuts. This silent film by Maya Deren, whom many people consider as the mother of dance films, may or may not have inspired the editor of West Side Story. Just consider the art of choreographing as an editor, anticipating how you can go from one mindset to another, one universe to another. The devil is in the details. This is a film that proves that with just focusing on depth of field as the playing ground. The brilliance of this camera work is that you feel the presence of a person that you don't see. First that they're going into the camera and then the camera follows, and then it switches from the herd mentality to the loneliness of the outsider. Terry DeMay is a composer as well as filmmaker, so his collaboration with Anna Teresa de Keersmacher was a real game changer, because he always filmed the sound of the dancers first, so that became his score, and then with that score then he could choreograph his camera work. I'm bookending two films that are about master manipulation. The first one is by a dancer from Canada who also had gone to film school. And in this masterful film, he controls every detail to the point that he wrapped a dance floor around the dancers so that he could control the light. From one benevolent manipulator to a bully.
You blame God for being born. What are these? They're stumps.
But let's never forget the beauty of just being in the right place at the right time. I love the footage of this rehearsal in Manipur. To catch this young girl at this particular moment, she'll be totally different perhaps the next day. The outrageous success of the robots from Boston So I hope that's inspired you a bit. India has a treasure trove of amazing films, amazing success, and the dance is probably the richest in the world for its precision, its speed, its storytelling, its costumes, the endless varieties. So that means you could have as many varieties of dance film, each one suitable for that particular style. So I wish you luck. I look forward to seeing the results, and feel free to contact me at Bell Aid if you'd like me to just shoot you an opinion, an idea of where you might go with your idea.
Well, that was a very inviting and an invitation, which I really hope a lot of dancers will remember and take in consideration. It's always the most difficult things to find the right person to with whom to collaborate on the other side of the camera. Thank you so much. It was a really incredible collection, and I suppose, having been a curator of dance films for this important festival for so many years, you had access to the best of them. And
I was always making trailers each year. So I had decided I would sort of do a sweep of my favorite films, the ones that it sort of my own image bank, about 10 years ago. And then I showed it a few times, once in a Norwegian dance film festival, and in New York, well, upstate New York, in another festival. But this gave me the occasion, this invitation from you gave me the nudge to look at it not from just chronological, but what kinds of issues come up, like the landscape, the relationship, what can you do in the camera, what can you do in the screen that you can't do on stage? And of course, I love to edit. I call it digital knitting. You know, it's something that you can change all the time. I saw some places like, that was a terrible edit, have to change that. So do you have any questions, any thoughts yourself?
Yeah, let's see if our viewers have as you have experience as a director or also as a choreographer in dance?
Well, my prime experience is as a choreographer. I actually came to study dance relatively late. I didn't start when I was 7. So I started, and I love choreography, and then when I got involved with dance films, is because I had one of those accidental meetings in New York when a filmmaker asked me to be in his film. He said, "I can't pay you, but I'll make a film for you." So that was a great trade. And it was at that point that I discovered editing, and that editing is so similar to choreography and so similar to writing. But I realized that the competition for editing is as difficult as anything else. So I thought, I'll stick with dance for a while, and then I'll go back when I feel more like sitting down, which is the case now. I have less urge to dance around the room all the time. So yeah, so the world of editing. And then in the last 10 years, I've made a bunch of short films exploring different things each time. Always low budget, something that I can handle myself, because more than anything else, having run a festival, I realized that most of the films are labors of love. So the fact is the technology is so much better than it was, you know, when I started. The editing was astronomical, and the hiring cameramen. But now, of course, you have very inexpensive software, and you can do tests on your iPhone. You can get good quality sound. So you can make what could be drafts of a film that, if you found the producer who is willing to back your film to do it on a Bollywood scale, fantastic. But you don't have to wait until you have all the dollars in hand. There's so much you can just learn. And that's why I tried to touch on, okay, you have a location, but how does the location support the dance, or the ideas behind the dance, or the rhythm? For me, the film I showed early on, done by Marlene Miller, the Canadian dancer with the Indian, the framing I thought was superb. And when she jumped, it still was patient. And I just thought it was brilliant. So,
yeah. Well, I suppose one of the questions was, do you think that the film medium enhances or diminishes the impact of a dance presentation? This is, of course, do you think that the film and the film medium enhances or diminishes the impact of a dance presentation?
Well, having just come out of COVID, as much as I like dance film, I had no appetite for seeing dance films. I just was hungering for the live performance. Yeah, it's totally different. The magic of being with a live dancer, live musicians, lighting. I love all that. And there's an energy exchange. So I would say absolutely not. I'd say that seeing a play live is as different as reading it at home. You know, it's thank God we have all. It's just different universes. It serves different appetites.
Yeah, sure.
But as I was saying, that most of the dance world around the world, not just India, have ignored film because the stage is their sacred place. This is where they want to be. But in this day and age where we have to stay visible, we have to take advantage of the fact that dancers have to use film. And for over a century, the film industry has used dancers. It's time to flip it. The dancers have to use the film industry. And the fact is, I think we're still the best performers, that we have the most to give, that is universally understood. Okay, maybe we don't understand all the storytelling when an American is seeing an Indian dance, for example, but yeah, so one does not hinder the other at all.
Yeah, I suppose it depends also. For many years we have been filmed very badly by Doordarshan, by videography, just casual.
Okay, so I have to jump. I didn't make my presentation about that, but that's a separate thing. So if nothing else, I would like this to be heard loud and clearly by anybody who's listening, or just you, Ileana, that the responsibility is really on the dancer. The worst thing is just to bring in a videographer and think they're on their own. when you have any other collaboration, you take the time. It's like when you have a tech rehearsal, you don't just let the lighting designer loose. You say this, you know where the entrance is, and too often the videographer has been ignored until COVID. And because I talked to some videographers and they said, for the first time, people were asking questions about angles, about the lighting, because the videographer is essentially a man with a camera or a woman with a camera, but they have to be given the equivalent of a script. They have to know, well, when is the duet? When is the solo? What is the high point? When can I come in for a close-up? And I was hired by American Ballet Theater for 4 years to run a program there. And I can tell you that I was appalled. The American Ballet Theater, they had the wisdom to include dance film as part of their summer intensive for high school kids, so that the kids who didn't become prima ballerinas, maybe they become film producers. But I looked at their archives. Their archives were horrible. Same thing. They just filmed it in the back of the house. They had copies of copies. So really the dance world has had very, very little regard for technology, for what can be done. And the dance film world that I represented for so long, there was one lonely woman, Susan Braun, who started in 1956, but she did it because she knew all the dance filmmakers were sort of a lonely tribe and they needed to support each other. But the bulk of the dance world was the opposite of the musicians who embraced technology. Can you imagine music without the record industry? But dancers have done it. The filmmakers embraced dance from the get-go. Loy Fuller, 1890s, and most dancers were just like, "Oh no, I'm a stage actress." Fine, but now also another thing that is going to mushroom, I'm sure, is the whole possibility of making autobiographies. People have been making biographies. The devoted student has made something about their favorite teacher. But if you have good archives, whether it's interviews, performances, dance made for the camera in location, your particular teaching method, all of those have to be good qualities, so that when it comes to, you want a reflection of, well, what have I done? You've got 25 years of your festival. So if you have good quality, as I've tried to show you, 3 seconds is what Hollywood and maybe Bollywood thinks is all you need to get an idea. And it's usually true. In 3 seconds, oh, we're at the beach, or, oh, he's the bad guy, or he's the good guy. Oh, she's in love with him, and so on. But if all your footage is back at the house and it's dimly lit and you see these little stick figures, 3 seconds won't do it. You're going to have to. So this is to say, you have to fall in love with film a little bit in terms of what film can do for you, for the institution, to get new students, to get just to express for people who are not able to see your live performance.
Absolutely, I agree. we need to be scolded, but also we have to think about that we are one man, one person doing all the roles. So between
but all the more reason. And when I say you, I'm not scolding you. It's the entire dance world, because when I used to get frustrated, I'd say, well, it's really the difference between somebody who likes to read novels and who likes to read poetry. film and dance film is broken up just as poetry is. So there's so many decisions. You have to have the patience to think like a poet. Like, what am I trying to say at this one moment? Where is there an opportunity to cut away from the live performance to I mean, for example, all the stories that are told. Imagine just 3 seconds to give it what century are we in? Anyway, tons of stuff that could be done.
Yeah,
And yes, the most people are running the show by themselves. But I always say that the blueprint you make for the lighting designer, or you're doing the lighting, that is at least the way to bring in the videographer, so that they know, this is the entrance of the group. Now is the moment when there's a solo. If it's a solo, the camera, each one can be shot in a different way. Or one is a close-up, one is a wide shot, one is a traveling shot. Or here's a moment to cut to something outside, or endless possibilities.
Yeah. So let me, okay, Arsha Sethi is asking, let's hear your story. Tell us where the budgets come from. Barter from documentation costs built into a grant. What is the future of a dance film? How long is its shelf life? Life.
Yeah.
Who is looking after the dance for the Camera Festival at the Lincoln Center? I remember the time at Indian short film was part. The time an Indian short film was part of it. And in 2007, the feature film Srigaram, and won a jury nomination. Strangely, the dance film came into its own during COVID. Deirdre, I felt that till now, dancers were all interested in live performance for the live performance high. Yeah, so many things are there. So you can also. The first question was, tell us where the budgets come from, and barter from documentation cost built into a grant.
Right. Okay. So it always goes back to what's the intention. So, for example, let's start with the assumption that your focus is your life on stage. And so the budget, even if you're presumably you've saved something for a recording, right? And if not, it has to be put in as part of household cleaning, So I'm starting with the premise that instead of making a dance film that stands on its own, let's start with the budget should be part of your annual budget, so that there's something for recording. And as I said before, you don't need a lot of money. Mostly what you need is time to speak to whoever's filming it, so they're prepared and you don't leave it up to them. You've done the time of thinking what needs to, you have to budget time. That's a lot. Budget time. And I really think that there's a misconception that film is too expensive. Doesn't need to be. It's more the thought process. In terms of, if your intention is to make a dance film or a film with dance in it, then that's like any other film, whether it's a narrative, a thriller, then you're in the realm of making a film, and you need to find a producer, somebody whose expertise is raising money. In terms of the shelf life, again, if it's well made, I showed you these films that were 100 years old. Now, how many people are going to see a film from 1920? If it was revolutionary in its day, it still serves as a purpose. You look at Lloyd Fuller. There's one person in New York who has kept Lloyd Fuller's work alive, but I mean, she used, you know, light and color and fabric. So those films will never get old, for example. It's sort of like anything else. If you have a gem of choreography, it should be filmed, because imagine it's gone. And then so it's back to the quality of the creativity and the performance. And yes, there have been changes in terms of in the 1960s, people were using film, but already in the 90s, they were switching to video. And then, much to their horror, a lot of those films were not digitized, and they started to fall apart. So, of course, now that the whole world is consumed with the internet and preservation, it's a question of having it digitized and having it protected in such a way that it doesn't vanish. So that, but yes, there are different formats that have gone by the wayside. And when we say film, almost everybody is using video now. There are the purists who do film, and film has a different quality. And if you lucked into a cameraman who loved film and wanted to shoot with the old cameras, and then let's see, what else? Who else is running dance film? It's gone through a lot of changes right now. I just went to the opening night of the 49th Dance on Camera Festival at Lincoln Center, and Liz Wolf is the curator now. She's been the curator for the last well, actually, I guess since I left in 2012. So she's been a steady Eddie.
And during your time, apart from Shringaram and I think also Kalpana, how any other Indian film was shown?
Well, yeah, Shringaram. I thought that was a beautiful film. I loved that film. Only a handful. We had. I went to Manipur, courtesy of Somi, and his mother had made a film that had some lovely dance. I've included. There have been shorts, but not that many. That's why we were so happy to have Shringaram, because it was aesthetically magnificent. The dancers, everything was perfect. It was dreamy. You've seen that film?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Kalpana also you have shown.
Yes, we had the good luck of being able to show that. And I only, showed a tiny little clip there, but the last time I looked online, they were claiming it was lost, but
no, it has been how they say restructured, not restored.
Yeah, no. So I mean, he had wonderful ideas, and he was a good storyteller, and the dance still comes out. Unfortunately,
40s. I mean, one has to also acknowledge the pioneer.
No, what a pioneer he was, and unfortunately, he's an example of what not to follow in terms of his budget. He went over his budget, and
he got ruined.
Yeah, it really hurts, and he apparently didn't emotionally recover from that.
This is Alka. Okay. Just to say how much I have enjoyed Deirdre insights. We in India need to document dance through the medium of film and video. It is a more robust and interactive, proactive archive. With high-tech smartphones, dancers can document themselves and their choreographies as learning tools. This is Alka Pandey, who is the collaborator of the organizer, is co-organizer of the. She was yesterday. She gave the talk on dance and visual art. Then Arsha Bahuda got the jury nomination. I think the year was 2006. Okay, I think Bahuda also, according to Arsha, was shown in
Right.
yeah, Dance with the Camera. Yeah, so I don't know if there is there are any other question, but I think yeah, well, I think you have already said, but exactly how, when, at which point you decide to to curate a festival of dance films, and why?
I simply was carried on the festival that was started by Susan Braun. Susan Braun was the founder of the nonprofit organization Dance Films Association, and she had her festival. She had her first dance on camera festival in 1971.
Oh,
so she had studied the technique of Isadora Duncan, but she had well, like many a pioneer, she had a vision that that few people were exposed to the experiments, let alone documentation. She actually was not a particular fan of experimental film. That's probably my favorite part of dance film, because it's a tool, I think, to create a language. But she had fantastic instincts, and she had a broad palette of films that included folk dance, instructional, the documentation, as well as the experimental. And as we know, that each one of those has demands different things from film. So the way you would teach through film is totally different than how you would have a record of a performance, and then how you would record a performance if it's taken off the stage. Because as we know, if you look at a play without any dance, just a play on stage, you would never expect to see cameras shooting the play on stage. They would transform the whole thing. So where, instead of the stage, where would each scene be? So a tremendous amount of fun, really, and imagination came in and saying, how can we transfer the ideas from the stage to the screen? And in each dance, and each aspect of dance will be different. As you say, whether you're teaching or you're entertaining or you're making a tribute to a particular style, and you've got so many styles. I mentioned in my closing that there's so much potential of what could be done. So that I was a jury once. It was ridiculous, but I was a jury once in an Indian dance festival in New Jersey, when there are so many Indian dance troupes. So I guess I was the objective viewer, but I was astounded how many kids were involved, and the richness of the tradition and the costume. But each one of those could have been filmed differently. Yeah.
Okay, I think this is the last one. Arsha is talking about Bahuda. it got the jury nomination in the year 2006. Would like Deirdre to please tell us about some of the other dance film festivals and how an Indian dance film can make it to yours and some of the others. Things are doing very well in this department. There is some amazing work under the rubric of duet with the camera. They are looking at introducing a course in dance filmmaking. I was telling you that a lot of things actually are happening due to COVID or due to it is the right time, and a lot of things are happening, and of course Sarsha is one of the person who has been following this movement and this development of dance film in India. So she's asking about the other dance film festivals which are around, but I think there are quite a lot. quite many.
There's so many. I mean, literally, when I started working at Dance Magazine, I had a column of 75 words on dance film, and at that time there was only the Dance on Camera Festival, literally. And then fast forward to now, there's one in Argentina, Mexico, Cape Town, Africa, the Netherlands, 4 or 5 in the US, Hong Kong.
In Europe also there are quite a few.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. In the Netherlands, the dance screen, Norway, they sort of seem to pop up all over the place. And in terms of now, since I'm not running it anymore, I used to have a list on the Dance Films Association website of the dance film festivals out there. So I would check there, but I would just put in dance film festivals, and then because Google does, you have to put in either dance film, dance screen, dance on camera.
Yeah, that is a problem. Screen dance, video dance, dance video.
And different things will come up. There's so many. And I was just a jury member for one in Chicago. That was Screen Dance International. There's really so many. So in terms of how to get in, unfortunately, it's like any other competition. You simply go to the website and submit your film. And most of them you can just, now, it used to be, again, more expensive. You'd have to send your film, but now it's not as expensive. A lot of times it's just a link. You upload it to your website, Vimeo, whatever, and you send a link.
And usually also the fee is not so high. I mean, it's always around $45, $50, I think something like that. No,
right. And then it goes back to also to what's your aspiration? You know, I having run a festival for a long time, the dance film festivals draw other dance filmmakers and people who like that particular kind of poetry. But say your aspiration is to be recognized in a wider audience, in which case I'd say there are only about 10,000 film festivals. And so I would just enter it in shorts. A lot of times you can get, I'd say, you know, your chances of finding a producer or something might be larger if you just go to a general
festival.
Film festival. So again, it goes back to what is your aspiration? Is it to get known, to get money for another project? Is it to just sort of be in the club and the excitement of seeing your film with other dancers? Because of course, the people who love dance are a particular tribe. There are certain, but if you're making a film, then that's a much bigger audience. There's a much bigger audience for film than there is for dance.
Naturally. Yeah. So I think we can close here, and thank you so much. So many inputs have come and inspiring. So we will all think about it. All the dancers will be inspired by it, I'm sure. And thank you so much, Deirdre, for accepting this invitation and to be with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ileana. And reach out if anybody has any questions. Thank you so much.
Namaskar to everybody. Good night.